Oh boy.
Corey Daniel.
Hey, baby.
Okay, guys, sorry that we're starting a little late. We had a sound malfunction on my part. This is Corey Daniel. Tonight we're in Conscious Conversations, and I just want to give you guys a little background about who Corey is in my life and why I've brought him here. It's so amazing he's in front of me right now.
Hey.
Corey Daniel is psychic medium. He is my intuitive. He is my spiritual guide. He is a spiritual healer of mine. He is one of the only people I go to for this kind of content. I'm actually a little concerned about bringing him on because I don't want y'all to take up all of his time and have no time for questions anymore. But when I decided to do Conscious Conversations, he was the first person I asked to come on because he is a conscious light worker. He's a being of light. He wants to spread joy. He wants to raise consciousness. He's one of the most incredible humans in my life. And I wanted you guys to get the gift of little Corey Daniel tonight.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction. I super appreciate it. I'm very, very happy that I am here with you. It's been quite some time, honey. I mean, this is so crazy. Like, we've done so much work virtually because, I mean, most of my clients are like all around the world. Yep. So most don't have the time and don't have the circumstances to just meet up in person and just get stuff done. Yeah. And that's the cool thing right now about the time that we're living in. Nothing separates us, really. Yeah. A little bit about myself for those who do not know me. Corey Daniel. I was originally from Ohio. And I started on this path in a very crazy way. Like many, when you're younger, you pick up on certain, energies. When we're at our truest form is when we're babies, So my family on my mother's side came from a long history of clairvoyance, and that was abandoned because of different religious choices.
Wow.
Some are familiar with Jehovah's Witnesses. That was my path I was born into. And I ended up leaving that to pursue a path that fit me. Sometimes we're like little plants where we are in a pot and we outgrow the pot, and then we go into a bigger pot and then to something else. So that is a part of the journey. But it's funny that you say, like, as we work together, how exciting it is and how it helps you so much. But I always look forward to connecting with you because I learn with the people that I serve and that I work with. Like, the best part of my job, honestly, there's two. One is being able to see that there is no such thing as problems, just little puzzles and patterns, and being able to solve the mysteries of ourselves. But the second part is I don't have to know anything. My job is not to be right, it's to be on. Yep. And when clairvoyant is on, they're receiving information, pictures, dates, times, and all these things that come up that make relevance to what it is that you are supposed to have in your space for that time. I've learned patience. I've learned, how to deal with the relationships and so many ways from the people that I'm working with. And sometimes I feel like I have the best job in the world. I mean, I am my dream job. And it's so awesome to be able to be here with all of you today. So that's a little bit about me. And now I'll let her take it the rest of the way.
That was beautiful. Thank you. That was so well done. So basically, guys, this is what Corey does in my life for me. And I want to kind of give the world of it because I know that it's kind of doesn't make sense to some people how you might have a spiritual healer or how you might have a psychic or an intuitive, and that term sometimes gets mixed up with like negative connotations, like people don't know what they're doing or it's a farce or all these things. And so I want you to talk a little bit. I'd love for you, I invite you to talk a little bit about your process. But before you do that, what I would like to share with people is this is kind of what it's like to work with Corey. So first of all, you have to sort of be aligned, right? Spiritually, mentally, physically, and be open, right? So you have to be coming from a love-centered place, a heart-centered place, and be open to receiving messages from spirit, from the other side, and from the universe, right? You have to be sort of open to that. Obviously, I am, or I wouldn't have attracted you into my space. And we should say thank you to Mika, who brought us together, right? Mika, my mentor, and she was on here last week.
Yeah, yes.
You don't have a thing on, right?
I don't, but I can put one on if you need.
Are you hearing that? It's like sounds a little like something.
I do hear a little bit of knocking.
I don't know what's happening on this. Sorry, guys. We're trying to avoid all the
Probably
time.
just the connection. I hear a little bit of it as
A little
well.
bit, right? We'll do our best, guys.
Yeah.
Not surprising that we're having electronic stuff with all of the energy that we have. So the first time Corey and I ever got on a call, I said, you know, do you want me to kind of share what's happening right now? And I do this every time I get on a call with him. I'll say, I can give you the world of it a little bit. And he says, no, I don't want you to do any of those things. I want to just tap in. You can kind of explain your process and what that word tap in means. He says, no, I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to know any names. I don't need any of it. I just want to tap in and see the messages that I get for you. And I think the last thing I'll say that's really important to understand is we're not looking for, actually, you know what? I'm not going to go any further than that. I'm just going to stop there. So tell me what it means when you say tapped in and what your process is.
Well, to begin with, one thing that I've learned, especially from I have an intuitive coach as well. Her name is Lonnie Reagan. She's amazing. And she's kind of been my my Yoda through this whole process for myself to do what I do. And a very high principle that I learned is you don't have to make someone wrong in order for you to be right. Many people who are more on the skeptic side, which is fine because I want details. I will never shame a person who has had reasons why they don't believe in everything people say. You know, especially we're dealing with women, but mostly men too. A lot of men that I work with or have worked with have come into my space and they've had that energy of show me, prove it. But the first thing that I do to kind of like quiet that down is I remind them I'm not here to show my skills to you to make you believe in the unknown. That's not my job. My job is to say what I hear and to help you. So obviously when people come to clairvoyance, it's usually because there's something they can't solve themselves. It's rarely for entertainment. It's usually because there's something that they have to inquire for the information for. The same way like a doctor. When people go to see a doctor, they're usually not overly joyful, you know, because they have to go and receive support. So at the beginning, I say, let's see how we can help you. Let's see what it is that we can do to help you. And as soon as we drop the energy like that, and they understand and have it in their mind too that they're actually coming for help, then that opens everything up. But when it comes to tapping in, I just love jumping in, like, because I think that's a way for me to keep the information as clean as possible. I don't want a lot of information that comes at me. If you have a specific question at the beginning of a reading, we can jump right into that. But usually it's, let's see the bigger picture of why you're here. And everything just comes through. People's names, different languages, dates and times all flow that way. Yes.
I think this is another thing I wanted to share about your the first session I had with you too. And one of the reasons why I loved working with you so much was the first time I had a session with you, one of the first questions you asked me was, who is Sean and who is Melissa? Do you remember that?
I remember, yeah.
And so he had already sort of picked up on some of the people that I was coming to ask about. It was crazy. And this happens every time we get on a call. This is something that you do for me. It's just bizarre. It's like
awesome. And I love your grandma too. She's always got something cool to say.
Oh my God. No, man. She comes all the time to talk to you. And I know, guys,
it's so funny.
What does it mean when you use the term tapped in? What does that mean to you?
To me, the term tap in really means to let go of bias, you know, honestly, to let go of bias, to let go of the story that I'm wanting to tell you, or the story that you want me to hear, or for me to reiterate back to you. For example, if I'm working with someone in fertility and I'm like, okay, don't tell me anything. Let me just jump in. Let me tap in. It's let me be in that place of quiet so that I can receive information that's indiscriminate, you know, and just let it drop right on in. You know, that's so important for me because it helps me trust as well. I work with a lot of different spirits. You know, we also have ancestors that are by our profession. We have ancestors by our blood, country. There's so many different spirits that we're connecting with while we do our work. But if I am in a place of bias, for example, this touches my life right now, especially because of the circumstance in our country.
Yeah.
We have Democrats, we have Republican, we have bisexual, gay. We have so many different things that are one way, another way, one way, another way. But for me, I'm like the wild card. And when you play Uno, you know, I'm able to not just receive information for all, but able to celebrate your difference, what makes you you. So when I'm in that place of tapping in, it helps my heart quiet down so that I can just hear, just like a radio, what comes through and just push it out there without my own judgment of what I feel it should be or what you feel it should be. It's just straight up truthful information. And the truth is the gateway to be able to fall into deeper intuition. Many people don't really want to accept the truth, but the truth does not mean that it's something that you can't expound upon, or something that's just definite and something that's going to be one way for the rest of your life. It's just the truth of that moment as it is being presented. And I fall into truth by tapping in and letting things be quiet.
I think that's so beautiful. I was actually going to ask you the next question. For people that are listening who get scared about this kind of content, what would you say to those people? And I know what I say to those people, because I have a lot of people that will come to me and say, like, I would like to do this thing, but I don't really want to know if I don't really want to know my future. I don't really want to understand. Yeah, and I have a way that I explain it, but I'd love to hear how you do, how you explain
it. For sure. The way that I would explain receiving psychic support is, it's kind of like, again, going to a doctor. You know, if you're having a pain in your stomach and it won't go away, do you want to get an x-ray or do you not?
Yeah.
You know, if you don't get an x-ray, you could be just perfectly fine. Maybe it's gas. Or it could be something that underneath the surface that needs attended to. And you may be able to get it right at that time where things can work out great. So the same way is if you're driving to a destination and you have the opportunity to turn on Waze and see what's coming a little further ahead. Oh, a big pothole, there's a detour. You get the opportunity to make a change if you use your GPS instead of using a map. So that's the same way. It's nothing new. This is like one of the most natural things that has ever been. And in every amazing story, every culture, every civilization, every government, Bible, you name it, all of it is based upon psychic predictions. All of it is based upon wanting to know something about the future and being able to receive guidance. And it's nothing shameful to say, I don't know all of that. Even for myself, I don't sit here all day and think about my future. There are certain things in my life that I don't want to fast forward. But it's about this type of question that you ask. If a person says, am I going to die next week? You could say, okay, let me look at that. If that's something you really want to know, it looks like you have an opportunity to exit the body, but this is surrounding a party on Friday. I don't think you should go. Something's wrong with the foundation of the building. It looks like the floor will cave through. Too many people. Oh, well, that's my grandma's 90th birthday party. Will tell them to cut down the list of people. I see 90. It should be like 50. Something's wrong. Then you call me a few weeks later, Corey, the floor fell through and 2 people died. It's like, okay, that could have been avoidable, but everything isn't that dramatic. But it's literally being able to receive information to help you on your path. I mean, I do. Like, even I have several people, which I call a panel, and we've talked about that before, where there are different situations that come up with a client, very sensitive things, where the client's like, okay, Corey, you said this, I believe you. And I say, okay, honey, you know what I'll do? I'll talk to my crew. I'll talk to the other psychics, and we'll put it on a panel if that's what you want. And we'll look at that situation. I won't even tell them the situation. Just say your name, and then I'll tell you what they come up with. And that gives you, the person, a different perspective of the same thing. It's almost like one book in different translation all means the same thing, and then you receive that. So that's kind of how it works on a bigger scale. I probably went a little bit out of there with that because I can nerd out on this stuff all day.
Totally, I love that. I think
receiving help, receiving support is the strongest thing that we can do, and the gift is not just being a psychic or being able to get the information. The gift is being available. Like, that's the true gift. Everyone has psychic ability. Every single person on here, it inherently has that ability. I'm amazing at what I do because I make myself available, making yourself available. That's what makes the gift bigger, whatever you decide to use as your gift. It's being available. And when someone's available to support you and available to give you information, it is a thing to be treasured, honestly. I've received and I still receive from psychics myself. So, yes.
That's awesome. So I guess the next question then to ask, I think what we're moving into is like, what do you do that helps you become more available?
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a good one. So let's see. What makes me more available? It's being able to prioritize my own energy. Like, I love connecting with people. I've had such beautiful friendships in the past, but some things have their turn. And there's some relationships and some unhealthy groups, religions, whatever, for me, that meaning that, like, let's say my past or something like that, there's some attachments that you kind of have to move apart to receive more. For example, when it comes to the way that I view love, religion, and life, I am a life path 33. And if anyone's known the life paths, 1 through 9, then 11, 22, 33. Life path 33 is considered a master number. It's not like, ooh, I'm the master. It says you can be a master teacher if you allow your energy to expand that way. But the part about master numbers is like, you are here to specifically get this stuff right. I may have more opportunities to teach. I may have more opportunities to make sure that I fine tune my spirit and have an alignment with a certain specific skill. So when anyone says they're a master number, they're here to really get this certain skill down and make sure that they have it in this carnation. Let's see, what else?
Do you think in trying to accomplish that skill as a master 33, that part of your journey has been struggling to do the work as a master 33?
Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. It's being able to still allow yourself to believe in relationships. I think that for me is the biggest thing, because because I have that open center, like I can see the light and the shadow of almost any situation with non-judgment. I do have some things that I feel more strongly about, but overall, when I go into that quiet place, when I tap in, I'm able to have an elevated view, and I'm being shown the true nature of almost every situation that comes before me. So that puts me into a little bit of a minority group of people who don't have that strong judgment, like, oh, I'm left or I'm right. I'm in the middle, and I can celebrate you for your own self and individuality. And that is very rare today. It's very rare to find people who don't require you to, for example, each group, almost like every group, to be accepted in a group, it's almost like the requirement is to deny access to another group, or to separate yourself from another. But for me, I'm in the middle. I have to be able to be that receiver of information. It makes my heart more expanded to connect with more people on that level. But when it comes to my life personally, it's hard. It can be very difficult. And I'm not the only clairvoyant or psychic who is going through that, where they feel a little bit isolated, or they feel that people don't know how to be your friend, or people will think they're your friend, but they actually want the information that you're able to give, so it can be quite tiresome to balance that dynamic. And let me tell you about dating.
I was just going to ask you, where are your blocks and how do you navigate all this, knowing the certain things that you know? Or do you feel like, I've always wanted to ask you this, like, do you feel like you are blocked on some of your own stuff?
You know what I'm saying? I would say the term is I'm put on hold, in some ways. I feel that as I am receiving information, as I'm working with my clients, I am actually receiving a lot of information that's, really particular to my own situation. You have that same experience too, where you're getting information. It's like, wait, hold up. I need to hear that. So I'm also regenerating. I don't really use the word healing because it kind of, in many
I
ways,
love that.
a connotation of, okay, a person has to keep healing and they're in the hospital. It's like, no, we're regenerating our powers. So it is quite difficult. But the relationships, honey, it's so interesting
We
to
always talk
navigate
about
that.
me dating. Talk about your dating.
Well, honestly, I'm single as dollar bill. So if you guys are watching, hey, I like guys. So the way that this is, honestly, it's I was 30 years old. I won't mind putting it out there. I was a 30-year-old virgin. I was 30 yeah, I was seriously. So when it came to dating in the world of being a person who doesn't particularly attach themselves to a group, and I've never been closeted. It's not been like, hey, I'm bi, I'm gay, I've dated women or in the past. I mean, it was just, I was just in the middle of everything, so it's kind of hard to articulate.
Sure.
So now that I'm more inclined toward dealing with guys, probably because they need support right now, they need help. But it's quite interesting because I'm still really innocent in those ways. But I have to manage. It's so difficult. It is a while because I can see, when I go out on a date with someone, I don't sit there and read them or try to see their business or kind of look and see what it is. No, but if something's not right, I am quickly informed. And beyond my feeling, I'm told what I should not be into. So that kind of narrows away a lot of interactions with some people. But when I do meet the people who, even if it's for a day, it doesn't have to be like, it could be just a dinner or a conversation, learning the value of having those moments not being defined by time. Love is not measured by time. I learned that from a spirit that passed on. You can have a meaningful interaction with a person over dinner or over the phone or in person, and it doesn't have to include sex or anything like that, but it's just the depth of that moment, the connection, and what's being done can satisfy you for such a long time. But I am in that place right now where I'm ready to incorporate more of another person there. I think it's really funny that some people look for someone just to kind of be there for them. I would love to support a guy who is who has a purpose, someone who's more self-focused. Many people are intimidated and call people who are self-focused self-centered. If a man is self-focused, it could be, I'm streamlining my energy because of the effect that I'm having on the world. And you need support for that, like anyone I connect with. And it's probably, again, it's not because of my knowledge, not about knowledge. It's because of my team that I work with in spirit. That person is always amplified, whether it be financially or emotionally. It's always, the channel's always moving in that way. So yeah, that's how it's going for me now. I'm still like, feel like a little child navigating the dating scene, but
I can't believe we've never talked about this. I'm so self-focused on our calls.
No, that's the point. You're supposed to be.
I know. We should chat. These are my favorite conversations. So.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, perfect.
I feel so exposed.
No, it's perfect. This conscious conversation is a perfect place to have this. Yeah. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing. So if someone, we had talked about this a little bit, and we'll see if it feels good to you now. Would you show just for like 2 minutes what it looks like to have I thought like an intuitive reading, right? And I'm going to say one more thing before we move on, actually.
Sure.
It came to me. I want everybody to understand that this is kind of how this works so that there's no fear around it. Because I think there's so much fear, and the spiritual healings and the tapped in-ness that I've had with Corey, with myself, meditating, connecting to the divine, right? Putting your mind and your voice and your heart, aligning these three things and being able to connect into a meditation and tapping in, what we call like tapping into the divine and listening and feeling into those messages, has been more powerful to me in my purpose, in my money making, in attracting good men, in attracting good friends, in relationship with my family. Like, the spiritual part of mental, physical, spiritual, emotional has been the most powerful piece of the puzzle. And you just said in the beginning, like it's puzzle pieces. It's not, what was that phrase? Yes, I loved that.
Yes.
It's just a piece of the puzzle. And the thing to not be afraid, if you're called to it, if you're watching this, if you're curious, you're being called to it, right? There's no fear around it. Doesn't need to be a fearful situation. So the way that I kind of managed this when I first started doing it, because I knew I was interested, I knew I was curious, I had friends that were gifted in this way that was fascinating to me, and I wanted to understand their process and how they did it. That's your soul's calling, that you're meant to learn this thing, that you're meant to understand it. It's a calling for you, right? It's part of that. So
Right.
I think the thing to get around all of that is that he's not telling you your future. He's not doing anything that's scary. He's reading the energy around something, the spiritual energy around something. Is this accurate for you, Corey, would you say?
That is quite accurate. I will say that it's like watching a movie. Your future is like a movie with alternate endings, you know. But what happens when you have a reading, you get to choose which ending it is that you want,
Right.
you know. So because you're always presented with choice. So a lot of the times that we're doing readings, we're tapping an energy that is connected to the universal conscious energy. So we have astrology that kind of drops into the readings. We have all these different aspects that are moving the probability of certain things coming up. Also, karma, like when I work with people, one thing that at first is kind of like frustrating sometimes a little bit is when people come to me and they're ready to see that future and know what their options are for their ending. And I'm just like, okay, I know you want to talk about your future, but in 1997, they're just
deal with
like,
this
what?
first.
I said, oh yeah. Yes, your future is your past. And I think that is one of the most dynamic parts of the way that I have been led to work is I am showing your past because let's say everybody who's watching right now, what I want you to do is on the count of 3, hold your breath, okay? 1, 2, 3, hold it. Let it go. That is what you do energetically when you have trauma. And I asked the question, where is this person not allowing themselves to have more of whatever they ask for, whether it's love, money, business, you know, sense, whatever. Where are we looking at? Where did it happen? And I will see on the timeline, they'll show me where, what year, maybe what time, maybe a person's name who was involved in the circumstance that gave your story this idea of truth that says you can't have because. And from that point, when we expose that, show love to it, and it starts to reroute the subconscious and gives it an allowance. It's almost like we're presenting a case to the subconscious mind. That inner child, that inner child is what tells you yes, no, it is there to make sure you're not embarrassed. But shame is a terminal disease with physical illness and working with the body. I'll just ask, where did the shame occur? It could be in your personal story, or it could be something that happened to a relative 2 generations ago. And then you do the research, you'll find out, oh my God, this happened. This is why my family has had hereditary breast cancer or have had an issue with a heart chakra deficiency. Like it's going into the past, being able to expose it, but to have a love towards it. Even I had a really amazing call this week with a woman. I'll just put it out there like this. You don't know her. So she had an issue. She's not even from this country. I saw it when I was working with her. I said, there's something happening with your husband around business. And it looks like it's karmic, but we're seeing him actually having a legal case. It looks really, really deep. And she just burst into tears. She was like, that's why I'm calling. My husband was involved in something that was really, really not that great. And I said, okay, fine. Let's see how we can manage this. So what we did is we saw the path about what things led up to it and where the shame was. Why was this person calling for a public shaming? What happened in his life that makes his energy call in for something so heavy? So we got that done and she wrote everything down. I told her that, you know, how the situation was going to pan out, and it panned out the exact same way. And it went better because she actually did the work. Her ancestors came in speaking a whole different language. And they said, if you do this, you do this, you do that, he's only going to get house arrest. He's not going to get this. He's not going to get that because he doesn't have to receive the shaming. So that's exactly what happened. And if you knew exactly what the situation was, you'd be like, whoa, this is crazy. How could he ever? And it's not like, oh, he got away with something. That's not it. It's literally, you are your past. You are the path of your family. Your DNA gives you the programs on how to act and respond in certain situations. So many people who do make those mistakes or who do fall into moments where the energy of feeling that they won't have any money causes them to act in a way that would be fraudulent or a way that would be shameful, and some people consider shameful. When you look at that person and help them realize, hey, dude, And I talked to her husband too after that. I said, what happened when you were this age? And what was your dad? And he was like, oh my God, my dad did the same thing. And that's why this, that's why that.
Wow.
And it was able to unravel the energy of shame. So no longer do you have to call in for a circumstance that brings you that energy of shame. You don't have to recreate it, because the subconscious doesn't really care about what you want. It just cares about repeating the cycle of energy, because at the end of the day, you survived it. At the end of the day, you survived it. So you repeat the same cycle, even if it doesn't. Some people wonder, why do I keep getting in bad relationships? Right. I don't like the way this makes me feel. Doesn't matter. It's not about how it makes you feel good or bad. It's about what happened in your past or your family line that gives you that certain sense of home. Repeating, you get like a little bit of an intrinsic reward in repeating a pattern that was done before you. So we break that shit right in half and just move it. Excuse my language, but we just go for it. But shame is a terminal disease. Always remember that. Shame is the thing that makes things repeat. It's the thing that makes it manifest in physical illness. Once you see the timeline of shame and call that person to recognize it, and it's so interesting. I've had it done with me before too, where someone was able to pick up something in my past. And because they don't know me, and because they were able to pull it out and help me see it from an adult in a high spiritual, elevated perspective, it changes the way that I view myself. And then that regenerates and dismantles that circumstance that was trauma before, but now it becomes alchemized and just becomes a part of the past.
Wow, that's beautiful. So let me just
one second.
We got so much energy on our ear, on our.
I think. Hold on. All right. Is
that good? We're good.
I can't hear you. Hold on.
Ah, shit. I think it's
Hold
on.
Up. Did my earbuds go on? 1 second, guys.
It's on your buds, I think.
This is just crazy. One moment.
We can hear you. Oh, he can't hear me. You good? Hello?
Okay, are you there, honey?
Yeah, we're good. It's perfect.
I can't hear you.
You
I can't hear you.
Sorry, guys. We'll figure it out. Is your other bud still on?
Something's happening.
Can hear you. Now it's good. You got it? No? So weird, guys. Sorry. It's okay.
Okay, are you there? Can you hear me?
Hear me?
I can't hear you. Can you hear me though?
I can hear you. We can hear you.
This is crazy. Oh my gosh. 1 second, love. Whoa. Not again.
Guys, this is what happens.
This is insane.
A lot of energy. It's all good stuff. Hold on. Let me mute it.
Okay. I'm not sure what's happening right now, but that's quite interesting that you're able to hear me and I can't hear you at all.
When did it go?
Going back with what I said,
this is really funny.
You really can't hear me.
I'm sorry, dear. I'm not sure what's happening with this application. It's not giving me the opportunity to hear you.
Hold on.
Sorry, guys. 1 second. Do you want to go back in and go out and go into this chat again so everybody can come back? Guys, don't leave, because we're probably going to get to the cool part soon where you guys get to ask questions. So I'm going to cut this off and just try to come back on there so I can actually hear her as well, and you guys too. So let's try it again. Okay.